The Twilight Garage podcast is brought to you by The Red Onion, the Bay Area's finest hamburgers, located at 11900 San Pablo Avenue in El Chorrito. Tell them Twilight Garage sent you.
Twilight! As always, Big K.
My man.
So glad to have you run next to me in the whirlwind that is the Manson family and all of these cases and exciting moments in history that encompass it. Thank you for joining us, Twilighters, here on the Garage. Episode 45, man, you believe? We are just tooting on down the trail. So glad you're here with
Coming
us.
up on 50.
Which is the year mark. And for us, that's going to be a really, really big deal. That's right around our patron saint, Lynette Fromey's birthday. So we're going to do a little thing for that, as I did solo for her 50th of one of her more notable events in her timeline. Want to thank you all, big and small, high and low, for joining us. Every single eye that's on this channel, I'm taking personally as a great affirmation. And so I thank you, thank you, thank you. We're going to bring on one of my favorite people. I know you got some serious love for JD. And we regard him around here as our foremost blood expert right now. We've been talking about what is known as the Tate murders on Cielo Drive in August of 1969. Very famous homicide, as you know. So we're in the Vincent Bugliosi book. And here we have the great James DAWSON to flesh this out for us. James, welcome from Argentina. Thank you.
Hey, glad to be back.
Now, James, we left this off with some horrific details on some people unsuccessfully fighting for their lives on the front lawn of a beautiful and historic Hollywood estate up in the hills, known as Beverly Hills. We just couldn't thank you enough for staying focused on the details, because I think it's real easy to get lost in the horrors of the crime and not stay on focus. We had established that Wojtek Frykowski was fighting for his life, deposited a great puddle of blood on the porch. He then had expired on the lawn. We have left it where people are now in retreat. So the murders, for the most part, have occurred. We've got the girls crying out, text, text, text. What about this? What about that? What about this? What about that? So before we get started, James, the one thing that for me that establishes legally, because this is testimony, as James points out for us many times previously, by the women calling out for Tex, by the women asking for Tex's assistant, by the women going by a game plan obviously laid out by Tex. So they're calling in for Tex to finish the job and make sure everything is wrapped up before they leave the property. So, James, we've now got everyone injured. Tex has stepped off of Wojtek with his 13 scalp injuries and is now moving towards, did he go next to Miss Abigail Folger? What was the next play?
Lay it out for us, my friend.
According to Kasabian, she said that she, in the background, which there's argument around the word background. If you can see out of your peripheral vision, that's the background. I can see what's going on over here beside me, and I can see everything over here, but I can't see anything behind me. So while she's looking at Frykowski, she sees Watson and I believe Krenwinkel over on the lawn.
Okay.
Filter.
Okay.
So I can see, if I'm looking straight ahead, I can see what's going on either way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I see what you're
So
saying.
that's considered background, and there is some
So in the periphery.
discrepancy of her being in the house and seeing what was going on. But no, she said in the background, I could
Okay.
see what, and I'm literally watching my cat from the looking straight ahead and seeing what's going on in the living room.
Yeah.
So I know it's in the background.
That's amazing. So then this has happened. So then Tex moves over to Abigail. Is that what happened?
And then from there, he goes back inside the house.
Sure.
That's when he started to stab Sebring. Then he goes and has Susan and them leave, Susan and Patricia leave. That's when he brutalizes Sharon Tate.
Now, is this when you and I have talked privately? That's one of the great things, Twilighters, about the gift of this case is the fascination never ends. Once you reach a certain level of research, the questions become so finite. And what I love is, as a child, one of the things that was just, I've used the word exciting, and I don't mean that in a positive way. I mean it in almost like a predatory, scary. I mean, it's very lurid and exciting. The first time I saw the color images of Sharon with the almost orange blood on her, because it was just like, it looked like it'd been wiped over her. And then I flashed on the ritualistic slayings headline as a kid. And I always kind of, bah, 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 had that like exciting flash, like a Batman kind of illustration. So to have you slow this down, I really appreciate it, because that is the hallmark of being able to begin to understand these smears of blood occurred, as you pointed out to me recently, when she was then turned over, is what you're saying. When he returned.
Yes, Watson said that Sharon was still the only one alive when she went in. And he goes on to say that he stabbed her 15 or 16 times in an article that was published that had heard by a reporter that had heard the Tex Watson tapes. Excerpts from the tapes. That is clear indication that he had to been the one that rolled her over, just like Tabor Fresca said, and inflicted the 8 initial wounds on her back shoulder area.
Oh my goodness.
And that does account for the blood smears on her body.
Which, God, just visually.
Because if you look at testimony, and again, I have to point this out, testimony is evidence. Susan, we have to discredit Linda, because Linda wasn't in the house. She doesn't know what happened. Or
so she says.
Well, again,
she probably did exit at that point, but I do believe that she aided in holding Sharon down. I think there was literal blood on her hands, I believe.
Well, yeah. Well, that's where we're going to agree to disagree on that, because
no, that's fine.
Linda, it would make sense that she would have stayed outside like Watson had wanted, being pregnant.
Well, that does. Okay. That takes a little shine off my enthusiasm of that. Anytime I can throw her under the bus, I mean, you're really
she was thrown under the bus because
a neutral researcher, and you won't let me throw her under the bus objectively on my own show.
I mean, she was a literal piece of crap. But
no, but thanks for keeping me honest. I appreciate.
I don't believe she went in the house. I mean, that of course originated from Atkins.
Well, maybe you're right, because the pregnancy thing, I didn't really think about that too much. And then you had brought up this FBI document from the mid-70s relating to Lynn's post-assassination attempt FBI contact with family members. And then I think initially you thought it was Cappy.
Yeah, I did. I missed it.
I kind of massaged it and thought about it after speaking with you, James. And I was like, wait a minute. that would make it actually Linda Kasabian.
It said
And
that.
so then that unlocked a lot more willingness for me to get off my personal bias.
Yeah, real quick. So in after the September 5th Ford incident in 1970, five? Yeah. The FBI and Secret Service met with as many members of the family as possible. They did like over 20 interviews with different people. And that's what, I was looking at was when they went and met with Linda, and they were trying to establish who was going to go to CLO, who went to CLO.
Even though this had nothing to do with the Ford case, law enforcement, now they had some resources. I always wondered about that. And it just seems like they wanted to run it through a sieve just personally.
Yeah.
Because I do think that had anything to do with the federal case against her, or they just had the resources and wanted to know.
I don't know.
Because that was just
I don't know.
what they
I think that they just wanted to know. Because have you read John Douglas's book, Mindhunter?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah,
there's a lot of unfactual things in there though as well.
Well, he did establish that Manson had nothing to do with the Tate murders, according to what Charlie had told him. And I want to think he even interviewed Lynette. Correct me if I'm wrong on that.
I don't know. I mean, I'm a big fan of the show. I haven't read his book. I just know that in recent years it's been highly criticized.
Well, I think if memory serves me correctly, when he interviewed Lynette, and David, you would be able to find this out if she would remember.
Sure.
It seems like I remember reading, because like I said, it's been years since I've read it, that he came to the conclusion that she acted on her own accord.
I believe that's correct. I don't know if they spoke directly. I can't speak to that, but
he did say that Manson, as far as the second night goes, he believed that things got out of hand and Manson showed him how to do it. Because by his own admission, by Charlie's own admission to what he told Leslie is, don't let these people know you're going to kill them.
Yeah, I think Friday night, early Saturday morning was a complete failure.
Yeah.
All these people senselessly died. They didn't get the money that they needed
or anything.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if we look at the copycat theory, and I'm not saying this to be cold towards the victims.
Thank you.
If we look at the copycat theory,
sure,
and that theory is leaning to be the most true of the theories, then they all were effective in what they were trying to achieve. They just fucked up majorly. Because if you look at the newspaper reports on the night of the La Biancas, when it started hitting the reports, the media started repeating what the police were telling them, that they were seeing comparing it from Hinman to Tate to La Bianca, and they see a copycat. So that's because the initial investigation for the Tate murders, and that's, like I said last time, I hate calling it the Tate murders because
I know you do, but that's how they're known. It's like the Manson family. That's such a shitty little blanket phrase, but hey, you want to get the thing out in 2 words or 2 minutes. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's kind of like you're shortchanging Sebring, Parent, Folger, Frykowski.
Right.
And
yes.
I absolutely hate calling them the Tate.
Well, that's what's better than the Manson murders.
Exactly, but still, I mean, Stephen Parent, 18 years old, at the wrong place at the wrong time. Nothing is known about him.
Yeah.
Nothing is known about Frykowski or Folger except for the work that she did, the social work.
And the fact that she and Charles Manson may have had more than a passing relationship.
So we want to give you a chance, James, to put this whole blood thing to bed. And so I want to make sure you're able to get through all your points,
Let's do it. So now we've got Tex having gone back, finished off Dear Sweet Sharon Tate, in the most gruesome of fashions. They're exiting the property. So we've established that parent was killed first because the other narrative is just not going to work for us here on Twilight. Now, Cary Grant wasn't there.
No.
No one was getting blown in the loft above the garage.
No, I mean, there's this misconception about Cary Grant even living at Cielo Drive. If you look at the renter's history, there's no way.
Right.
And if you look at Diane Cannon's book, the house that they ended up moving into, and I've got the address. I had actually given it to Casey a while back, and I don't remember it right offhand. Was previously rented by the Beatles when they were working on their Rubber Soul album.
But I wouldn't know about that, would I? No, I'm just a little Liverpoolian.
Well, like back in early '68, Sharon and Roman lived in Cary Grant's house in Malibu, right on the beach.
And that's the other thing. These little nuances and wrinkles, as you know the case, it's interesting. You'll see people come on the internet with these little, well, Cary Grant. Like, okay, so you can tell kind of how long they've been into the case based on where they place Cary Grant in this case. But we have moved along, and now we are leaving. So now the blood evidence that we're worried about that's germane to the storyline is on their clothing and on their body.
Well, like I said in the previously, Watson, I don't know if I want to give it any credence or not, because I did stand corrected that he did cut himself. And I showed Casey where he cut himself medically, which was on this side of the hand by the pinky. And the next question he's asked by Bugliosi is the blood on the clothes the blood of the victims? And he says, no, it's mine. So that's just kind of like another, because he was going for diminished capacity.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I want to give that any credence or not, because he's denying that any of the blood that would have been from the victims would have been on the clothes. And if, let's say that the blood is his, which doesn't make sense unless he was walking around
hugging everybody or something. Yeah.
Because like I said, it was on the pinky. He doesn't say when he cut it on this part of the nerve. He doesn't say when he cut it, so he would have had to have been walking around with his hand in his shirt to get it covered like this with blood. And if that's the case, then he would have been type O.
Well, and meanwhile, there's a whole bunch of sanguination happening all around this murder scene, and you're just like, oh no, it's all my blood. So we've departed. We're in Johnny Schwartz's fine Ford motor product, the wonderful Galaxy, shooting down the hill on our way to someone who had been aligned with the police department. I love how many police department tie-ins there are to just this little part of the journey, this little part of the story. So they pulled in front of this gentleman's house, unknowingly just saw a hose out on a side street. They're sticky with the warm blood of their victims.
James and I talked about this on the phone prior. I tend to believe that Susan Atkins' original talk with her attorneys that was reported. Yes. I think that they went and dumped the clothes and the weapons prior to going to Rudy Weber's house.
Yeah, that I do, because I mean that is a possibility. Because if we go by the theory that they knew the victims and it was a retaliation for a drug burn, then we have to question, why did they get lost? Because Watkins, Atkins, and Kasabian said it took them almost an hour to get to the house and that they got lost on the way.
But Kasabian also said in her 1975 interview that they went straight there. So it's tough to know.
Well, I mean, because according to, I think it was either Atkins or Kasabian said that they ended up going, it might have been Atkins, said that they ended up getting there through Mulholland and going up that way.
Yeah.
And we know that
going the freeway.
Yeah, and we know that they were telling the truth because we can't go by Patricia because we have no testimony by Patricia. But Atkins, Watkins, and Kasabian all testified about driving around all of these curves and hills and ending up at the gas station. Now, if Watson had cut his hand, he would have been bleeding off because he said it was deep. Okay, well, how deep?
Mm-hmm.
Because if it's a deep cut, and if he's stabbing, that's just going to keep keeping it open more and more, and it's going to bleed more. But he apparently goes into the bathroom and washes off as well.
And you would know in a well-lit gas station at night, if your hand was cut, that would be a delineation in time that you would be very succinct on. So thank you for pointing that out, James. The other thing, too, that we talked about earlier that I wanted to circle back around on, so I made such a big, it's like shooting a flare off verbally, right? We're going to circle back around. It's that the girls had called out for Tex.
Yes.
Tex was giving wartime general-like instructions, is what they call that. Like if you pull a RICO case or something, for example, the Hells Angels, when they get prosecuted, a lot of times when they'll have video footage now, like in some of the rumbles, where one of the club officers will be pointing directions out, and that's exactly what they use against you. They call it a general in a wartime type situation. And I think this situation, both nights, in contrast with the Gary Hinman incident, these were military operations. And I think Charles was more of a general. I think he was more of the mental leader unwillingly. I think
Mae Brussel was the first one to make that point back in like 71 or 72, that she believed that this was some kind of military involved thing. Also, there's another guy that just recently got popular on YouTube that was alluding to the same type thing.
Well, what I'm saying is, and I think this is where the semantics of language is important, and we have this luxury here to throw the anchor out verbally, and that is, for me, I mean it in a different way. I mean it that when you do these things, you're venturing into all kinds of conjecture and other elements. And when you say military, I mean just daily. It's a structure. There's a hierarchy. There are orders being given. I don't mean the military.
Sure.
And found Charlie in prison. That's where I disagree with someone like Sam Smith, who we love. But hey, man,
well,
I think it's simpler. I think it just happened. But I think this is Texas murder. I think Charlie was just in charge at the ranch, for lack of a better term. He was a spiritual figurehead. All these people had done these things. There was a couple of different motivations going on, sometimes within the same people on these nights of murder, but it was clearly Tex. So this diminished capacity thing that we keep coming back to, James, which I really appreciate you bringing up. This is a huge point because it's absolute trash. We can see the ladies calling out, him doing what needed to be done for this operation, right?
Yep.
Clean up.
What
military stuff, but it was Tex. It wasn't anyone else.
What else do you think, James?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you want to bring into the whole military thing, they were at war. They were
and
at war.
That phraseology gets them in trouble. Can you flesh that out in a way that's fresh for us? Because I think there's a way that isn't a trite asshole statement. Now, can you fill us in, please?
Well, when you're at war with the system, you've got people that are, I mean, this still continues today. It's just not used at war. I mean, you've got people that, well, I'm not going to say, Bobby's innocent, but you have people that are arrested, falsely arrested, and their family or friends don't have the money for lawyers. They know that the police is not going to help them. They They know that, for example, a lawyer is going to lie and take your damn money from you. So they were faced.
No, that has been said, documented exactly.
Yes.
The lady said exactly those things. So that's buttressed. Okay.
Yeah. And so what do you do when you go to war? There's casualties. It's not personal. And then I'm not saying it again to dehumanize the victims.
At all.
It's just the facts of war. When you're at war, there are casualties.
Well, there's that. And then the thing that I think is most salient to that argument is when you hear Patricia Krenwinkel say the things that she did about the second night where she was really, really active and physically brutal with Lino LaBianca specifically. And the way she talked about it, we were at war. And then you heard, you had Leslie Van Houten echo those sentiments, pre-exposure to the feminists in jail. She was still a loyal soldier, but I see Patricia is the ultimate physical soldier in those nights.
Yeah.
And because she spiritually was on board to the point where she was in over her head, killing people that were physically more robust than her, just on the love of what was in her heart. And that's an incredible thing, because when you say that, I'm sure I sound insane right now, because Lino LaBianca, what a just the unmitigated horror of his physical death. It's so stomach churning and terrible. But you think about the person who did it and the way they used their language and semantics, that they had so much love, not just for Charlie, not just for what they were doing, but
Bobby was
the victims themselves. That in killing them, they had to have this much love for them. Susan had said that. You have to have
so much love for somebody to release them like that, is basically what they said.
Right.
That's a wild thing to say.
Now, can you, Phil, what do you get from that, James? Please. From their point of view, we know you're not crazy.
I'm trying to word it where I don't sound crazy or cruel. So I'm thinking
we're crazy for talking about it. We're automatically going to be called cruel.
Well, I mean,
I can see
I'm
where
looking at it
would be true.
from their point of view,
right,
from just gathering at it, and I don't want to come off as crass or crude or cruel.
There it is. Disclaimer time. There it is. 1 degree.
But I could understand it.
The logic. We're working with the logic here, right? Not a result.
As I said earlier, they were effective in what they achieved to do. And if we look at what Patricia wrote on the refrigerator at the LaBianca, which is Helter Skelter, misspelled, we know that the literal definition of Helter Skelter means confusion. And so the victims were just casualties. They had a certain love for the victims to an extent. But then we go back to something that Patricia said, where she said about Lino, this is a guy who's not going to be sending his son off to war. And if we even go to a further Semitic on it, instead of the common myth that Atwa and the Order of the Rainbow didn't start until the 70s, that's not true. Because we got Patricia saying on the night of the Tate murders, that's 5 less people polluting the environment. So,
which is what was repeated, much to the horror of those talk show guests, by Sandra Good when her and George were on the Latrice, or whatever her name was.
You're close enough.
Yeah, that's crazy. When she said that, they're like,
Well, that's how I'm trying to think of wording it, because I don't want to offend anybody.
Right. Or sound
And I
nuts.
don't want anybody to think I'm crass or crude or no sympathy for the victims.
But there's a great difference, James, having prefaced that with what you said, and
they had a love for them.
Using a logic. We're using a filter of the perpetrators. That's what we're doing here, folks. It's not
because I can't.
We're
really
not absolving people. We're just trying to
I
understand.
can't speak for any of them,
right?
But I can say that from their perspective, I can understand it. Why
that's what we want to get at. When I speak in these terms and use this language, it's not me. I'm trying to, through my research and through my understanding of human nature and my own personal experiences, right. I'm trying to piece together a narrative of why.
Let me just put it this way, David.
Sure.
When you're at war with somebody, people have to die. That's the
and
only
when you
way
say that, and the people are innocent victims who are civilians.
Yes.
That sounds terrible. Just fucking sounds awful.
Well, it's particularly disturbing considering the context that we're living in right now in the United States.
Yeah.
And the events of the last, not just the last week, but the last couple months, you know.
And we're speaking from 2025. We're in the middle of a wave of political assassinations in this country. We're basically feeling.
Okay, let me add to that the political assassinations.
Right.
Okay. Sometimes people have to die.
Again, and that's what I'm saying. We are in a context now. In 50 years, in 60 years, are they going to understand the context of our language, the way we use syntax, and our current day vernacular? Because the language is constantly evolving and the meanings change. Like we're always saying on here, love. A totally different meaning. It's become totally trite. But are people going to understand what we're saying? Because the meanings of things change so much, but also our time and the context of these political assassinations that we're experiencing in real time, because we don't know how it's going to play out.
Right.
We don't know they're going to absolve the death penalty in 72, right?
Right.
That's what these people are working with in real time.
They have no problem going to the gas chamber.
That's why when you say things, you don't, I mean, I understand you're not crazy, because we're speaking in the context of the time, in the context of teenage, mostly women who are actually, they're young girls, very hormonal.
And don't forget that the late 60s, the times were becoming more violent, because this is the first time that war was even broadcast on television.
Yeah.
And you had TV shows, and I believe it was Leslie, because I went back and checked, David. I believe it was Leslie who said that they got the idea for the copycat killings from the TV show. So you got TV shows doing this, and that's giving ideas.
Well,
so
they're
taught to do.
Where I really came to, I guess, grow a new level of respect for Lynette was when she was on Stoner's show, and she admitted, basically, I was a terrorist. We were terrorists.
I thought that moment of reflection and honesty reflects her character, because she could have used her rhetorical skills, her deep vocabulary, all these different reserves she has within herself to make herself look okay. She was taking an incredible risk being on the show. And to just be honest and incriminate herself like that, I think is indicative of her character. And that's why when it's been, that particular line has been used against her a whole bunch since she appeared on that show.
Well, let me add something to that.
Yeah, please.
Because I've explained this to Casey before. I suffer from lupus, and if I don't say it, I get brain fog and I completely forget.
Let it rip.
Lynn, red and blue, technically, if we want to get back onto the part of love, and I was just writing this down as you were talking, They had a great love for people that they were willing to go to jail to save our air, our water, our trees, and animals.
I think there's a combination of that. I think personally, I've never met Sanders and I haven't spent any time with her, so I can't speak. But I think the spirit of Lynn had a lot to do with her brothers and sisters that she loved a lot, suffering within the system.
Yes.
And that she personally could not exist as a civilian, taking in free air, eating whatever she wanted, going wherever she wanted, doing whatever she wanted while they suffered.
She used her trial as a platform to try to get them a retrial. She tried to get them to testify on the stand and hopefully reopen their case.
Which is such a beautiful, kind naivete that she literally sacrificed most of her life for. And she didn't even really want to leave prison, from what I understand so much. She didn't want to go in front of the parole board.
She pled guilty, right? I mean, at first,
Absolutely.
she wouldn't even give a plea at first.
Parole board either, and they just eventually skipped her out.
And so her commitment, I really am glad that we're able to understand that and separate that from.
Have you actually read the letters that Blue was going to mail out?
Yeah.
They are so inconsequential and compared to what people do every single day on the internet now.
It's so true.
Well, let me ask you a question since you've read those letters.
Sure.
Is she wrong?
I think
people are. Look how we've come towards the environment.
Morally,
pollution.
I think she was ahead of the curve. And again, this is one of those things where this is why I have this show. Call me fucking crazy, okay? Whatever. But on this show, I don't have to listen to you. And I can just say, I think Manson did a lot of self-help before self-help was called self-help.
Yep.
As Lynn told me one time, she chuckled when she heard me say that. She said, Charlie wasn't selling counseling, David. But what she meant by that is he wasn't a goody two-shoes. But what I think she didn't understand so much was how much self-care, the lack of self-condemnation, and the love for those that you truly care about and keeping a tight circle, that became the overriding philosophy that we now observe.
I put Blue's letters in the same category as Ted Kaczynski, the Unabombers, right? There's a lot of truth in his manifesto. There's a lot of stuff that has since come true. Obviously, his actions and their actions were horrific. I don't believe that, killing people is the right way to go by any means, but their message, the message should be heard.
Blue's letters, she says something, something in the lines of what these companies that are doing or polluting the air and the water is going to be worse than what happened at Cielo Drive. Look at all of the people that are dying from chemicals in the water.
Yep.
They're getting cancers. Look at what the pollution has done. Where I used to live in Tennessee before moving here, Jasper, Tennessee had the highest rate of cancer in the whole state of Tennessee. And that is because it is close to the Sequoia nuclear plant. You have the paper mills, you have Lodge Manufacturing who make the cast iron skillets. So you have all of that culminating in the air. And when you breathe the air in Jasper, Tennessee, which is really close to Chattanooga, just by 10 miles, it smells like sewer.
You've got sulfur,
from
the metal plant. You've got all those things. That is literally like hell. When you smell it, that's what hell in the Bible.
And the workers at Lodge Manufacturing, I know this because I treated many of those workers, ended up dying with what was called black lung. And that's where they're breathing in that sand to make those cast iron skillets. that are sold all over the United States.
Like miners used to die from.
Yep.
You probably still do.
James, we only got a couple minutes left.
Yeah, let's
please take us out though, and let us know what you have going on, how people can reach you,
what your latest endeavors are.
I haven't really gotten much because, like I said, before, on Mondays are extremely busy for me, because once I get through at the hospital, I go straight to La Plata and I start teaching at the university there. But I haven't really gotten anything up, but we did get a very, very nice donation for the hospital we recently built.
Wonderful.
Oh, wow.
And I'm not going to brag who it was, because I'm not going to name drop, but Casey knows. And
are we talking about like a big time celebrity that
yes,
internationally known?
What's funny about that is I met this person.
That's cool.
I met this person.
You guys, we can't say who it is because we got class. But I don't mean to interrupt you, James.
Yeah, because it's more so this person doesn't want to be a bragger.
That's what I'm saying. But hey, hold up. Person who did this, we love you. Wow. Wow.
She came to the clinic. What happened was I met this person several years ago. She did a photo shoot with another big time celebrity. And I was visiting two friends of mine that are makeup artists. And I'm sitting back there flipping through a Vogue magazine, trying not to fanboy out, not giving a shit about what's in the magazine. And then these two friends tell her, it's like, well, when you go to Argentina, you need to look this person up because he's a friend of ours and see what he did. So she just rolled up one day and she was went in, and it was just magical. And she was looking for a gift to take back home. And she saw this portrait and she wanted to buy it. And I said, no, I'll just give it to you.
As a classy gentleman like yourself would do.
And it was featured on the front page of the newspaper.
Yep.
So everyone,
and I have the original photo right here. The Polaroid.
Don't look it up, y'all. Don't look it up. But hey, here's the thing. I know that woman hasn't met me, but she has this terrible secret crush on me. So next time you see her, let her know
beautiful.
how much we admire her.
And James, at some point, we want to get involved in your efforts in opening up this clinic as well. And we want all the Twilighters and people in the community to be able to give towards it as well. So as we get further along, as you get closer,
and as we grow as a hopefully an entity, because the thing I'm most proud of, and James, I'm going to say it while you're here, all of the researchers who've come together here, I think, are the real people that from the George Stimsons on down, who are understanding the love we have of this case. It's not about politics, it's not about us, it's about research. Just like you corrected me earlier on some of my skewed feelings, we want to thank you again for coming on, for keeping us honest, and again, for being one who stands for the good part of this case, which is about the love and the research and the Deb Silvas of the universe.
Yes.
And our great fans, such as Mr. Joey Alva, who I met through our good friend Stoner Van Houten at his family jams this last year. Really had a nice time speaking with Joey. If I could throw him a hug out there.
Much love.
I hope you catch it, my friend. We're spiritually aligned, and I think you're a wonderful gentleman. I was really, really pleased to speak with you and catch some photos and stuff out there.
James, we're excited to have you back. We know it's only a matter of time, somewhere around right after our 50th episode. We'll definitely do it again, my brother.
All right,
Love you, sir.
Love y'all. Bye.